Good evening, good morrow, and good morning, everybody. It's morning somewhere, evening somewhere else. My name is Mikhail Moonstrung, and today we have not only a new series, but a brand new member to the podcast, to the show. Today, welcome the one, the only, Mr. Danny Black. How goes it, my good sir?
It's going all right. It's going okay. Not bad at all.
No, I didn't think I was going to have to leave out as many varying treats and tandy things to tempt you into the smoke den. Why exactly have you come here today?
I've come here today to kind of document my journey of becoming a Freemason. So it's to kind of talk about where I am in the process of joining Freemasonry as a candidate, and to talk about the reasons why I personally am joining Freemasonry, and kind of what I intend to do whilst I'm in Freemasonry and how I think it will better my life, really. So talk about my little background, really, and which is quite complex, and there's a lot of history to me, which has led to the point now of joining Freemasonry. So
I'll tell you what, we're incredibly excited to have you on, especially with this documentary that we're building. So for anybody who's unaware, you're about to be aware. We're creating, where we can, a Masonic documentary of those modern Masons evolving into the 21st, well, I guess we're in the 21st century, but evolving forward using the current most powerful systems of connection and innovation to link up a fraternity which is internationally bound. And in that space, we really want to focus on looking at probing our petitions, probing at these individual lovely bastards who have decided to petition, to join the halls of Freemasonry. And we're going to follow that journey, especially with our young Mr. Danny Black here. So as we go, let's start with some of that first part there, some of my favorite parts. What in the hell interests you about Freemasonry? Why Freemasonry?
I'll have to kind of give a bit of context about my background first to kind of lead up to the answer.
Absolutely.
So I'm a former Catholic, and so my parents were divorced, and I spent most of my youth with my biological mother, who raised me as a Catholic. We went to church when I was younger, and I'd go to church and I'd hear these stories, and I'd be probably 11 or 12 years old. I'd hear these stories, and I'd think, as a young boy, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy, I'd hear these stories and think, there's something much deeper to what I'm hearing. There's something so much deeper, esoteric-wise or lesson-wise. And at that age, I never knew what these terms were, like esoteric. But what we describe as esoteric, that's what I was craving at that age. So, I was debating with the priest back where I'm from, and he couldn't answer any of the questions. And he was so angry, he got me to undertake an act of contrition. And so basically, I had to apologize in a large group of people for offending him, even though, and he said I was blasphemous because at 12 years old, I was talking about things like the Book of Thomas, which the Catholic Church removed from the Bible.
Yeah, they treat as non-canonical.
Yeah, absolutely. It was deemed heretical. So he knew what the Book of Thomas was about, and he didn't like me talking about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm not tolerating this. So I left. I recognized, there was something not quite right to what I was hearing. Not that I was against the faith. It was, I wanted more. So I left.
And that's how did your mom respond to you in that space? Because inherently with her being kind of like a force into that, how was she there? Was the support? What was that like?
It was so embarrassing. I mean, she wasn't a very nice person, and she did a lot of very not very nice things, and which has led to my recent diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. So, which I'm currently waiting for some support for. But anyway, so she was really embarrassed. She was a dedicated Catholic. She was really embarrassed. She deemed me as kind of a troublemaker, and I thought, you know what? Okay. I got to the point where I was 12 or 13 years old, and I thought, having these experiences, which weren't very nice, I felt that I was somewhat of an outcast, and I wasn't, God didn't want to look after me. So I said, okay, you know what? Stuff it. Stick the middle finger up. And I investigated everything else, like Judaism to Buddhism to even theistic and Levian Satanism. Just
Yeah, I mean, I noticed the pentacle on the back of your hand. What's the story behind that?
That people will see that and think, oh, it's a satanic pentagram, and it's like, no, it is not. It is not. I mean, it can be. It depends what perspective you are, and that's absolutely fine. If someone who was a Satanist wants to use that symbol, that's absolutely fine. To me, it represents the soul, and of course, like someone came up to me and said, "Oh, that's a satanic tattoo." So I explained that. I practice magic, and with energy work, our soul has lots and lots and lots of different chakras, and in our hands we have a chakra in each of the hand. And I said, in energy work, the right hand is what's used to send out energy, the left hand is what's used to receive. So for the fact that I consider this a sacred symbol and a symbol of positivity, it was a metaphor to say I'm sending out good energy. So it's
I like that. Well said.
So it's and it could also symbolize the 5 heroines of the Bible, the 5 heroines of Christ. It could symbolize the morning star, which was the star above Bethlehem, and Yeshua was born as a baby. So it could mean lots of different things. But anyway, so yeah, like I say, I got into I actually became a Levian Satanist, and but at the same time, I was looking into things like theistic Satanism, and I related to the character, this metaphor of Satan, this rebellious character who fought against tyranny, and because of my experiences, and I was under tyranny from a Catholic person, I thought, okay, I want to rebel against that. So I seemed, I seemed that I was a Satan myself, a rebellious guy. I related to that character, and I loved it, this light bearer rebelling against the tyrannous dictator,
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely think the perspective of, any individual in that polarizing point is not like, it's not focused on, malfeasance or malevolence. It's focused on this sense of self-discovery and and challenging what feels to be inherently wrong. Right. It's like, I feel like I could do it better. That's not from a place necessarily of intentional superiority or egoism, but it comes from that place of I want to be positive and do the most positive that I can. And if I observe it to be not here, then I need to do what I can to find it, to bear that light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And basically, in the end, I realized, I was maybe 16 years old, but I think I was learning about like black magic and things like that, and I was into a black magician on YouTube called E.A. Quetting, if you are familiar. E.A. Quetting has just been taken off YouTube because someone in England committed a murder in the name of E.A. Quetting. And he's got taken off. The thing is, E.A. Quetting never promoted murder or anything like that, right? But this guy was like summoning that aspect. This E.A. Quetting was summoning this guy called Asmodeus and these beings, and this guy who committed a murder took black magic from E.A. Quetting's teachings and manipulated it and used that in the name of the murder. So sadly, he was taken off, and I'm not exactly for or against E.A. Quetting, but the murder was falsely in his name. But anyway, I was into that guy, and I was into all sorts of different kind of like far left-hand path kind of thing, but I remained objective. I was never gullible. I never
It was scholarly, right?
Yes, yes. I never took things for face value. I learned something, and I thought, okay, what more can I learn? So I learned more, and then it kept on going. So anyway, I was about 16. And I thought, okay, it's not really filling that void. You know, I was craving kind of that spiritual fulfillment, and, you know, kind of I don't want to say extreme left-hand path, but the very left-hand path kind of philosophies, kind of these, you know, Levian philosophies. I'm not saying they are bad, but it wasn't for me. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot of techniques for magic. I learned a lot of different perspectives, and I was still researching things like esoteric Judaism and esoteric Christianity, and, you know, things on Buddhism and paganism. I was researching everything I could get my hands on.
All those expansive schools.
Yeah, absolutely. It could everything from OTO, or the Golden Dawn, or
yeah, because that would have been my initial thought with some of your spaces, because I share very similar, you know, beginning points in like spellcraft, magical discovery. So why not a group like those, OTO, one of those where you've got more of a magical or esoteric foundation, like Freemasonry.
Yeah. But it's like so it didn't kind of. I've always believed in God, and I do believe there's something like. So I'm a deist. And some people may call him Elohim. Some people might call him Odin. Some people, you know, people have different names for him. But I've always believed in God, and I was very much inspired by a guy called Dr. John Dee, who was a medieval
Enochian magical practitioner. Yeah,
magic. Yeah, and what's fascinating is that this guy who, you know, the Catholic Church would have killed him if, you know, they had the chance. But despite the fact he was an angelic magician, and he used to work for Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I employed him, and she was a Christian. She was a staunch Christian. So it's kind of that's when I realized, oh, it's perfectly fine for me as a human being who believes in God to practice magic and things like that. And I learned in the end, it depends how, you know, magic is used. Okay. So, by the by, I looked into different schools of different thought. I looked into different philosophies because I was fascinated with the way of life. I didn't like living a mundane lifestyle. I'm not a person.
No monkism for Mr. Danny.
Say again?
No monkism for Mr. Danny. We're not going to find you lost in some retreat for years up in the top of a Himalayan mountain.
No, I would not. No, but it's like, but no. So I got into different philosophies like Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher. I got into like Marcus Aurelius, and I got into kind of those stuff. And then I discovered a guy on, and he inspired me in my kind of what is now my train of thought. I discovered a guy on the internet called Dr. Jordan Peterson. If you've heard of him, he's
very popular over here.
Oh yes, yeah, and because I was in a very dark place, and I wanted to sort my life out, and he uses biblical lectures and psychology mixed together to kind of it's to kind of elevate your train of thought. And so when I implemented, the things he advises, it put me on a higher level of thinking, and it helped me discover my journey towards God as well, what I consider to be God. And I've got his book called 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, and it's absolutely amazing. And he uses a lot of biblical lessons from the Bible to kind of, he uses the stories to kind of teach us how we can change things in our life, how to deal with our flaws, how to deal with kind of the negative subconscious thoughts, that bring us down. And, he considers them to be like a false ego. Some might consider Satan, that's kind of his train of thought. And I thought, okay, I agree with that. So, but in the end, after discovering all of these people, all of these different philosophies, different, religious practices, I thought, right, okay, I would like to be around like-minded people. A Christian church isn't for me. A synagogue isn't for me. A mosque isn't for me, a cult isn't for me. So, So it came to the point now, after my long in-depth research, where I thought, okay, I would like to be around like-minded people. And my perspective on society now is that there's a lack of kind of respect or integrity and honesty. And, you know, I myself, I put myself in a high standard. So I always expect better of myself, okay? I always like to be better than what I am now. And I like to help other people. And I was into different organizations like the Sea Cadets or St. John's Ambulance, which is like a first aid corps. It's the second to the NHS, okay? You know, we are first aiders. I was into all different organizations where I learned skills where I could better myself and help other people. Hence why I was a first aider. And putting all of my experiences and my desires to be better, the desires to be around like-minded people, desires to help other people, the desire for a craving of kind of esoteric study, to be around like-minded people. I saw all of this in Freemasonry, and I learned, you know, I do have a family member who's a Freemason, but given my particular relationship with that person, I won't go into details. But no, and I've always wondered what it was about. But after speaking to guys like, so I got on TikTok and I was, you know, I avoided YouTube because of the conspiracy theorists. And I thought, okay, you know, common sense, you know, I avoided YouTube. And then I got on TikTok and I thought, okay, I wonder if there are any Masonic TikTokers. And then I discovered Muscle Marty. So, and Widow's Miho. But in the end, you know, I was talking a lot on the comment section of Marty's lives, and I was learning more and listening to what he was saying and what Freemasonry was about. And I thought, aha, yes, that is what I would like to be part of. And it was actually, I'll give the nod of the cap to Marty. It was actually him who kind of gave me my conviction in Freemasonry. So I was interested, but he was the one who hit that nail in the coffin for me, you know. So it was actually him who really inspired me to become a Freemason. So much love and respect to him, really.
Oh, yeah, you'll make his fucking day when he watches that and hears that. It's just
true. I mean it, you know. But
honestly,
then,
go ahead. I apologize.
Sorry, no, go. Sorry.
Oh no, no, I'm listening. I'm grabbing my popcorn, boo. It was more. I wanted to make go. I want to hear more about this journey continuing through. So this point where you were inspired, you delved into the internet, so the Masonic TikTok warrior community, as it is.
Oh yeah. But initially, so I've got a Star Wars TikTok page, and so after I grew that, I was able to go live. So I had a couple of conversations with Marty and said, look, I'm investigating this. And we had a couple of conversations, and I'm watching his content. And for me, I've got common sense and initiative. So I was able to recognize that this man, Brother Marty, was genuine. You know, everything he was talking about Freemasonry was genuine. And, you know, I don't want to sound narcissistic, but I've been around very negative people, and I can tell when somebody is disingenuous, and I don't see that in Marty. Right. You know, after the conversation, after watching his content, you know, I started to follow other people on his TikTok. So it could, you know, started to follow guys like Widow's Miho and Harpocrates, you know, these awesome guys, very intelligent, someone who I respect a lot, and after watching the content, you know, these guys really knew what they were talking about. And, I respect people who are very knowledgeable and very intelligent. And I'm always intrigued with everything. I always like to learn more. And, you know, so I saw a different side in Freemasonry where I could learn things. I could learn things about myself. I could learn things about people, you know. And it was the guys on TikTok that really inspired me to kind of get into Freemasonry. And because I recognized officially what Freemasonry was about. So it was, you know, I have to give it to them. It was those guys, you know. And so after watching a few lives and a lot of videos on Widows Miho and Harpocrates and Brother Martin, I thought, okay, right, I'm going to write a letter. And before I was going to write a letter, Martin said, Danny, I've got an idea. I said, what's that? He said, I think you should document, because all of us guys who are Masons now have missed out on the chance of documenting their process of becoming a Mason. So he said, you know, before you do anything, document everything that you do. So I thought, yes, brilliant. That's a brilliant idea.
I love that.
So I wrote a letter, and my first proper video was me talking about my letter. I filmed me taking it to the lodge and dropping it off. I filmed, you know, I was talking about my initial inquiry, you know, the inquiry form that you do on the UGLE website, you know, and I was like, you know, it was really exciting. And I felt ever so, you know, even though I'm not a Mason yet, and I am in the process, I do feel a strong connection to Freemasonry, like a gravitational pull. It's something that it just resonates so much with me, and it's exciting. The process is so exciting, and the privilege of being able to document that so far, and for, you know, other, you know, it's like, you know, there are people who have never met me in person before who are Freemasons, you know, like it could be Harpocrates, it could be Widows Miho, it could be Martin, it could be the other guys, you know, that, you know, Three Pillars and all, you know, they're shooting messages to me on TikTok. Hi, Danny, hope you're well, just checking on you. Are you okay? Things like that, you know, because in a couple of lives I've talked about my past and everything, you know, I'm not, you know, I struggle with low mood. And these guys who don't know me, and I am not a Freemason yet, they are still checking on me, asking how I am. Are you okay? You know, they're giving me advice saying, I can't wait to call you a brother, you know, all of these different things. I thought, you know what, this is a real family. This is a real brotherhood. And it's like, you know, my father was in the military, so coming from a military family, being in the cadets, being in kind of organized groups where there's kind of like a brotherhood essence, a teamwork, a family, you know, I really see that in Freemasonry, and it's something that I really desire for. And I see that as a man who's in the process of becoming a Freemason. So these guys are giving me love and attention, and, you know, it's really, you know, you've just done that, and it's true. It's really touching, and it was really, you know, when I get these messages of people asking, hi, Danny, how are you? Hope you're okay. Even some of my friends, personal friends, don't do that. So, and you know what?
Funny how that goes sometimes.
Yeah, but it's brilliant, and I can't wait to be part of that community, that brotherhood, that team, that family, you know. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that means a lot to me, and it's, you know, I got, hey, get this. So in the UK, the age of joining Freemasonry used to be 21. Okay. And I applied, well, I say I applied, I did the inquiry, I've done the inquiry process. And Brother Martin was like, oh, Danny, you have to wait until you're 21 to become a Freemason. So I was like, oh, I've got to wait 6 months, you know, to initiate. And I got a call about a week ago saying, Dan, I just want to follow from the Masonic Lodge that's in my town. Danny, it's such and such. You know, we've just found out by my secretary that, and we've confirmed it, that the age to join Freemasonry in England has been lowered to 18. So after a conversation, you know, he said essentially the process of me individually becoming a Freemason should be much quicker. I shouldn't have to wait until June, you know, 6 months time, you know. And the funny thing is, he told me that most of the Masons know who I am, even though I've never met them yet, like some of them yet. I've met a couple, but the guy on the phone told me that, I think it was the secretary or someone, said, a lot of the guys here know who you are, Danny. And, you know, we've heard a couple of good things about you. So I was like, yes! And
A reputation precedes me successfully.
Well, there we are. But it's good. I mean, it's not certain news, but it's definitely good news. You know, if
I mean, it's a positive space for them to reach out to you directly, especially with that kind of energy. You know, when you see that the energy by which you come to the fraternity, we actually did a video on this one just a bit back.
Yeah.
When you see that reflection, that's a very, you know, mirrors do that. And the fraternity in a lot of spaces is really big mirror stuck between two pillars. If you get really bright, it'll get really bright.
And it's you know, so I'm actually waiting for Freemasonry for Dummies. It's going to come, and like Harpocrates, you know, Tyler, he told me, Danny, do not read it. He said, because the whole point from his perspective is that you go from darkness to light, and if you have too much light, it ruins the experience of, you know, the initiation and everything. And you know, and then some of the Masons say, oh, it's okay, just avoid chapter 6. I've never read it, so I don't know, but you know, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll take Tyler's advice and, you know, not read anything until I initiate. So
let me ask you a question, and looking into the point of this, but like, because there's two particular paths, and I would look at not two. Let me say it. There's many paths, right? But in this one, where the question delves into is, what brings you a greater sense of satisfaction or a greater sense of success, and that is discovery or dissection. Do you like to know? Like, do you like to pull things apart and see how they work, or do you like to discover something for the first time?
I'm more of a guy who dissects things. Because for me, so my father, who I don't speak to anymore because of our complications, he had a nickname for me, and he used to call me Sherlock Holmes, because you know, my father he's an ex-Royal Military policeman, and he was a former special investigator, so he was like a detective himself.
Yeah,
and you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah, very. And he said, you know, he called me Sherlock Holmes because I like to analyze things. You know, like for instance, so our college is the step between high school and university. I know you guys call university college, but our college, I did sociology. So in sociology, you have to have that analytical mindset to tear things apart and look into them, you know. And you know, I very much like computers and coding. So when I see a system of some sort, like let's say you've got a religion like Christianity, okay? Christianity is made up of certain components, and if you approach Christianity like it's a code, like it's a computer code, a computer code has different components, right? So, but with a code, certain components are put together to get a certain result, okay?
Right.
In Christianity, the different components put together gets you Christianity. But like a code, there's always a flaw. There's always a way that hackers can get into that code and kind of find where the chink in the armor is, and kind of dissipate it or go within and break it down. And I like to do that with systems or religions. I approach each religion like a code with certain components that gets a certain result, and then I try and find the flaws. And you've got to have an analytical mind to do that, you know, to really look at the specifics and find out where it's going wrong, or where things don't add up, or where things, you know, like a flaw in an argument, like a debate. You know, someone debates, but if you're intelligent enough, you can read in between the lines. You can figure out where they're going wrong. I like to do that with religions or philosophies or different perspectives. I treat them all like a long code. I've got to work out the components. I've got to work out where it tries to get that person the result, and then I try and work out where the chink in the armor.
The typical is deviating away from it, where that inconsistent result comes in. Hey, so I think I will be very curious to see how your experience in Freemasonry goes. Now, you sound very much leaning. Sorry if I can get my L's right. Leaning to that side of more dissection. Get similar paths. A lot of those esoteric students who have that drive, that seeking, that calling to try to find this intangible truth, this singular absolute that can only be hypothesized or felt, so to speak. There was a dissection aspect within the fraternity that inevitably that you can a lot of experiences within you can be affirmed, but there's this really weird thing that happens where everything that you know, which is a lot, especially because of the amount of the hours and hours of research you've done up to this point, that I had done up to that point. There's a thing, and it'll happen where suddenly your understanding goes away, and you're left in a place where you don't know. Like all of that preparation. So it's kind of like you talk about the ritual, right? In magic, magic in most places, we're looking at a controlled ritual, a consistent change, right? There's a moment whereby that change occurs, where you go from A to B, and in that transitory phase, moving from A to B, you are neither, right? And when that happens within Freemasonry, especially for the occult student, for the esoteric student who've really they ground the pace down, so to speak, it scares the shit out of you to a certain degree because of the amount of work you've done up to this point.
But it's like it's really funny you should say that, because it's like I know you're pagan, so you probably can understand where I'm coming from in a second. So I was fascinated with kind of allegories on the soul and enlightenment, and I used to call enlightenment Samadhi, which is an old Sanskrit term for enlightenment, and it's specifically kind of like African Eastern term for enlightenment. But I was fascinated with, okay, how can you become enlightened? How can you become enlightened psychologically? Friedrich Nietzsche said you can become enlightened in a psychological way. He said that we haven't evolved yet insofar as psychology. He said, look, we have Homo sapiens now, but he came up with an idea called the Ubermensch, or in German it means the Superman, and it refers to someone who exceeds kind of this mundane, kind of that bog standard way of thinking of a human being, and he calls that an Ubermensch, or the Superman. It's someone who can understand, someone who has super morals, super values. And so I was interested that way, but I was also interested spiritually as well. So when you learn about Kundalini and things like that, so when you open for instance, your Ajna chakra, okay, your third eye, well, it's not your third eye, but for the sake of argument, we'll say it is. You open your, I'm sure you know where I'm coming from, but when you open your third eye and you get to see things, it's terrifying. It's when you've never, it's terrifying because
you read the Bhagavad Gita by chance?
Say again, sorry.
You read the Bhagavad Gita by chance?
No.
If you want, because you talk about a terrifying experience, and when that particular one gets open, it's just because for you it'll probably be very comical because you've got this, you have a previous perspective of this encounter when it goes. But it's a conversation between effectively God and his friend who is mortal, and his friend's like, yo, I want to see what's up your skirt, and God's like, all right, and he flicks him and opens up that eye, and then his experience is it's worth writing about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like so I've researched about the soul in so many different perspectives for nearly 10 years now. I'm nearly 20, I'm 21 soon. I was researching these things from the age of 11 years old, and on my own. It's as if no one around me was spiritual in the respect of magic and things like that.
Right.
So I discovered this on my own, that I believe in reincarnation. Okay, so I believe when you've got a young person or a child who desires spirituality, I think in his past life or her past life there must have been a magician or a kind of someone like that, because I believe I believe in kind of the old Hindu perspective that people are reincarnated when they haven't reached samadhi. We get born back again until we learn officially about godhood and things like that, but when you're looking at the soul, I learned things about nadis and the chakra and the kundalini, the ida and pingala, all of these different things. And so, like I said, the third eye isn't technically the ajna chakra. So we have if you look at the qualities of the soul, okay, the different components of the soul, you'll find that the a lot of the terminology to describe the different components of the soul are actually in the Bible. For instance, when you look at God and his 7 flames or his 7 seals, I think the 7 flames or the 7 fires or the 7 seals describe the 7 main chakras, okay? And like Jesus, I can't remember what book or passage it is, but Jesus had something like 144,000 followers, okay? In old Hinduism and old esotericism, it says that you have 144,000 nadis. Nadis are tiny little chakras, okay? The tiny little energy points. So we have nadis in our tips of the fingers, okay? And so when you speak of the third eye, people associate the 6th chakra or the third eye with the Ajna chakra, and it's false. So we actually have 6 nadis going down the forehead. These small chakras, these 6 small chakras, are actually small energy points that need to be opened for clairvoyant abilities. The Ajna chakra, the 6th chakra, is known as the seat of the soul. It's the pineal gland, okay? That's what allows you to have initiative and see things on a higher level. The nadis give you the clairvoyant abilities, okay? To hear, to see the astral, all of these different things. The pineal gland is what allows you to kind of you need to open that chakra to have deep ability, in the astral. So, so I was looking into these things and I thought, aha, that adds up. That looks like that, like the Kundalini serpent, people see that as the devil, it's the evil, and it's like, no. In the ancient Eastern times, the serpent was a symbol of enlightenment or courage. Like, I'll give you an example. So Benjamin Franklin, who was a Freemason, he actually spoke highly of the snake, and he called it majestic, and he called it brave and courageous because it will take on anything that is bigger than it. It's someone who, he said a snake is symbolic for someone who takes on things that are greater than them. It takes on things that are a greater threat. It's someone with courage, someone. It's got a majestic nature to it. And in spirituality, when you look in ancient Egypt and areas like that, the serpent was a symbol of enlightenment because of the Kundalini. Now, for some people, who don't know what Kundalini is kind of like a serpentine energy. It's serpentine in respect of how the energy is made up, okay, in its shape. And it's made of 2 components called the Ida and Pingala. It's the male and female side of the soul or the mind. Like, so when you look at yin and yang, it's the white side or the light side is the male side. The black side is the dark side or the female side. And it isn't necessarily bad. And this is why, for instance, the Catholic Church persecuted women. It was a metaphor because we all know. So the subconscious side of the brain in magic is the more powerful side because it's what, as you may know, and in psychology, certainly in Carl Jung's psychology, the subconscious is known as the dark female side, and it was a symbol of greater power. And when we look in paganism, women are highly venerated, aren't they? So
absolutely, yeah.
This is actually the reason why the Catholic Church persecuted women, because they were so sacred in paganism, and for the fact that they can give birth to another human being, and also for a fact it was a metaphor to say they are killing the female subconscious side. And this, black and white magic isn't. There is no such thing as black and white magic. Black magic is literally a metaphor to say you are using magic involving the subconscious side of the mind, the more powerful side of the mind, the deeper side of the mind. Like, Carl Jung goes into the subconscious, and he talks about dreams and everything like that, because the subconscious side, it's so much deeper, and it's the unknown area. So when you start to do shadow work, for instance, you get into the subconscious female side of the brain, which is the more powerful, esoteric, deep, more intelligent, more spiritual side of the mind and the soul, and the IDA is the female side of the soul. So when you unite the male and the female side of the soul and the brain, and you raise that energy, you become enlightened. That unification, and that's the reason why when you've got the hexagram. Sorry, I need a drink.
Hey, no worries.
When you look at the hexagram or the 6-pointed star, no, in Judaism that's the Star of David, okay, but in paganism, it is it's the male and female symbols put together. It's actually a Roman pagan symbol. So when you've got the triangle pointing up, that's known as the blade. It's a symbol for the male or the masculine. Okay, when you've got the triangle pointing down like this, it's the female side, because it's the shape of the womb. Okay, the womb is like, so when you unite the male and the female, it symbolizes unification. It symbolizes unification of humanity for the male and female. It symbolizes like sexuality and being human, because when you put the male and female together, you get, another human being.
It creates that balanced form.
Yeah, it brings the balance, and a lot of people don't do the research on symbols, and symbols are very important, because it is, the Masonic symbol with the square and compass and the G, that isn't as old as, the pyramids of Giza. Okay, it's very old, but it's not as old as the pyramid of Giza. It's in the reality of that symbol is a very modern symbol, but it's because it was made, the different components of the square and compass, it's a metaphor. There's something deeper there, and people just go, oh, it's a satanic symbol, okay, because it's shrouded in mystery. But if you aren't a Mason, you might not know what that symbol means, and either a Mason will tell you what the symbol means, or they might say, no, it's our thing, it's not a bad thing, but it's our thing. So if people don't understand, it's shrouded in mystery, and people just associate symbols they don't understand with Satanism, because Satanism is associated with dark, mystery, evil, and it's quite sad, actually, because people take things for face value. It's like for me, like we said, I dissect, I go into, and I analyze. So when you look at the Bible, for instance, or the Christian Bible, Jesus or Yeshua states, I am the way. Okay, now people go, oh, that means Christ is the way. It's like, no. I am in Hebrew, the original translation, I am means God. So Yeshua was saying God is the way, and it actually states, God in the Bible says, no one shall worship another man before me. So Jesus himself didn't want worship, we
see that trend in a lot of spiritual teachers throughout time, where they're like, do not deify me. Thoth, Hermes, they're listen, fuckers, learn, don't.
It's like the Buddha isn't a god, but there are many different interpretations that worship him or take him as a deity, and he wasn't. The Buddha was Siddhartha. I can't remember his name now. Siddhartha Gautama. It was a Hindu prince, and he was actually a Hindu. The Buddha, it's what's also fascinating is there's a comparison between the Buddha and Jesus. Okay, so the Buddha was a Hindu, so he was a polytheist. Okay, he actually stemmed away from that, and he founded his own philosophy with inspiration from Hinduism, but it didn't teach any, Hindu teachings like the polytheistic worship. No, he was very. How can I put it? He took inspiration from Hindu religion.
I think, yeah, and I mean in a lot of that space, right? Because you look at what the symbolical character of Christ or Jesus or Yeshua, however we would like to classify them in this term.
Yeah.
There's the root of true teaching, which is emanating not off of cultural influence, but of the root of what it's supposed to help the culture achieve or the people achieve. And that's always lost when when religion, you know, the true religion, as it is written in times, gets complicated by cultural and the foe, you know, that which is not real. And so, and even in the fraternity, you find that there's this path of not only ever seeking light, but to ever test. Test and to ever check that light which you receive. And it's beautiful to see that as you've begun this incredibly well-researched journey into the fraternity, that I believe that you will still be surprised, that you will still find there is more to learn, because you seem like you have an incredibly well esoteric and symbolical understanding that when you walk in and you see those large symbols, as you probably well know them, you'll be able to understand some of those deeper esoteric meanings which are built behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, as I was about to say, there's a huge comparison between Yeshua and the Buddha. You know, Yeshua broke away from Judaism. He took inspiration from Judaism, and he founded his own version because he disagreed with a lot of things in Judaism. Just like the Buddha, who was a real human being, disagreed with Hinduism, but took inspiration. So for me, Freemasons remain objective, don't they? In somewhat, even though Freemasons have their own individual faith or belief. So some of them may be Christians, some of them may be Jews, some of them may be Muslims or pagans like yourself. But they still remain open. That's the thing. So, and that's the beauty of it. And I like being open. And, you know, so when you see a lot of these Masonic symbols, you know, I now, after speaking to a lot of people, understand, you know, kind of the concept of a lot of Masonic symbols. So, and the lesson I learned from all of these symbols that are featured in Masonry is that it teaches you about self-development and to remain open, but yet still have that faith in something greater. So you can have that faith in something greater whilst being open to everything, whilst taking inspiration, you know. And a lot of the Masonic symbols, if you really look at what they mean, that's exactly what they mean, you know. They mean self-development, you know, self-truth, truth about the universe, truth about, you know, everything around you, you know. And it's something I highly respect. Even though I'm not a Mason yet, it's something that I highly respect because it's something sincere, it's something honest, it's something true that can teach me a lot of things about myself and about humanity and about people and about the universe as well. So, and it's something that I'm really excited to be part of. So I've got a meeting on the 20th of this month, and that's when I find out some more news. So he said, the last time I spoke to him, Danny, it shouldn't take long at all. So if he said that last week and I meet him on the 20th, hopefully I found out some more news as to when I might initiate or something like that. So, and that's only a couple of weeks away that I find out more news. So,
oh, absolutely. Well, and be honest, you know, you only become a Mason one time in your life. And, make sure you relish in it. That you temper that fire where you may, and you forge that sword, that truth, that definitive point. Because I think you will make an incredible Mason, and to hear and to look forward to where you go on this journey, to get to be a part of it, to help capture and share that story. Mr. Black, I do believe it will be a pleasure and a privilege for all of us within the fraternity and outside to watch and see this. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. Thank you for taking the time to answer these questions and to be honest, take us on the journey of how you ended up at this doorstep of the fraternity of Freemasonry.
But I think we'll have to do a part 2 after I initiate. No, something like that.
Absolutely. No, this will be continued. This story will not end. We will regularly continue this conversation so we can keep the story moving, because we've got to see you to the end, brother.
I know, but thank you for your time. It's, you know, highly appreciate it. I very much respect you, and I will keep you up to date. But yeah, it's something that I'm really looking forward to, and I think if anyone feels the same way that I do, or the way you might, look into Freemasonry, because it might be the thing for you. If you crave something greater, if you crave a brotherhood, if you crave family, if you want to help other people, and if you want to better yourself, then maybe Freemasonry is for you. So,
well said, Danny. I could see you think he's one already. He fits the form, fits the space. Hey, if you're curious, you want to learn more, you want to follow specifically along on this journey, likewise, where you follow the hashtag Masonic Movie. Go check out Danny's account. Danny, what's your account name? How can we find you?
Oh, so on TikTok, I am Learn with Danny. It's one word, so it's at Learn with Danny, and I am documenting my journey, everything so far. But just kind of add some promotion in there. I'm going to set up a second page where I'm going to talk about magic and spirituality. So I'll have a Masonic page separate to a spirituality page. So that will be the same username or a similar username to Learn with Danny. But if you want to see my documentation of my journey so far and what it's like to be an aspiring Freemason, as someone who's a candidate or a possible candidate, check out my content. And if you want to hear some things about current Freemasons, check Hippie's production, check Harpocrates, check Brother Tyler,
Widows Miho, Psychonaut Gnostic, any of those, go to it is TikTok, hashtag TikTok Masonic Lodge #1. You will find all of us on there. Check it out.
For anyone that may be not sure what Freemasonry is, give us a look. If you want to hear about Freemasonry, why not? Who's better to tell you than a Freemason what Freemasonry is about? So check me out, check Hippie out, check all the other guys out. Learn with Danny on TikTok, and maybe Freemasonry is for you. You go in blank.
Helps if you unmute the mic, he says.
Yeah.
Be well, be blessed. Thank you so much for joining me in the smoke lounge. Remember, no driving for a little bit after this too.
Oh yes. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, mate.
See you later.